Okay, we're live. Thank you. This is Commissioner Gage Froh. I want to welcome everybody that's on this commission meeting electronically this afternoon. It's just a little after 4 p.m. Tuesday, the 31st day of March. This is our first electronic Zoom meeting. We appreciate your patience. For those that, like me, that it's fairly new procedure, but we're going to get started. I'm going to start off with an invocation by Commissioner Harvey, if I could, and then Commissioner Jenkins will give our thought for the day. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you. Our Heavenly Father, as we bow our heads today, we're thankful. We're thankful for technology. We're grateful for the opportunity. We're thankful for being able to host this meeting electronically, and we ask, Father in heaven, that Thou will especially bless those residents and those who will listen in.
Bill, do you have him unmuted?
That
okay.
Things will be well. Father, please, we pray that things will go well for our community. We're grateful for the health department and the doctors and those who are working hard in our food services to keep us all safe and help us to recognize the seriousness of this. We're grateful for our team and those who work to minimize this impact. Father in heaven, please know that we're thankful for what we have and say these things in the name of the Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, Gage, you want me to go ahead? I'm going to go ahead. I can't hear him, but I'm going to go ahead. So my thought of the day is, we're doing really good in our county, and I don't mean to pound our chest here, but I want people to understand that we've only got 44 cases as of this morning. We're doing good. We still don't have any community spread, and that's amazing. So Weber County is trying really hard to comply with these orders. And, I've gone out to these job sites, like I was out to the archery building yesterday, and they're doing a good job. They're working out there, and we still are doing things around the county. We're not just sitting and doing nothing. So I'm really happy and pleased with what's happening right now. We just gotta keep the faith and keep it going as we go here, because it just will stay with us. We're entering into the summer. We're getting close to it, or spring certainly, and normally this stuff starts to lapse then. So let's hope it happens. So that's my thought of the day, Gage.
Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, so just so everybody's aware, we are accepting public comments, but if you'd like to comment on one of these agenda items, what we need you to do is email your comments to our Weber County, Utah.gov site, and that would go to Shalacy, SHALACY, at WeberCountyUtah.gov. And if you can do that within the next hour, or probably even sooner than that, then we'll respond to you. If we don't respond to you today, and if we receive it after we close the meeting, we will respond to you sometime tomorrow. So with that, let's go ahead and move on with our consent items. What I have on the consent items is number 1, request for approval to ratify warrants 2556 through 2595 and 448255 through 448386 in the amount of $2,513,592.11, dated March 24th, 2020. We have requests for approval of warrants 2596 through 2614 and number 448387 through 448623 in the amount of $844,604.79. Number 3, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $199,240.22. 4, request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on March 17th, 2020. 5, request for approval of new business licenses. 6, request for property management for approval to surplus 2 ice maker water dispensers. 7, request from the attorney's office for approval to surplus cubicles. 8, request for approval of amendment to grant by and between Weber County and the Utah State Department of Workforce Services for the Intergenerational Poverty Plan Implementation Pilot Program. 9, request for approval and ratification of Weber County Human Resources Policy 4-200. That would be the lead practices. 10, request for approval of ratification of the Weber County Human Resource Policy 7-200, expanded FMLA and paid sick leave. 11, request for approval of retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Eric Wadman. That's the consent agenda. Commissioners, comments, questions?
I've had a chance to take a look at those items, including the retirement agreement that was sent to us via email. They all look good to me.
Great. Commissioner Jenkins?
Yeah, I had no complaints about any of them. I would make a motion that we approve.
We got a motion. I'm going to let Ricky just go with it before I place the motion. Ricky?
You bet. Thanks, Mr. Chair. As far as purchase orders, we issued 27 POs for $199,000. 37% of that amount, or $74,000, was for the library, and that's an open order for landscape maintenance, boiler control, and temperature sensors, as well as carpet cleaning. 12%, or $24,000 of that amount, was for paramedic, and that is for replacement ventilators. These are scheduled, not necessarily in response to the COVID situation. They're just scheduled replacements. 12%, or $23,000, is for IT, and that will go towards firewalls and upgrades related to remote working. 10%, or $20,000, is for the Golden Spike Event Center, and that was for, or will be for, garbage services as well as some food orders. 8%, or $17,000, is for recreation to replace flooring in the softball complex. 6%, or $12,000, is for the roads, and those will go towards buying drainage pipe and supplies, as well as an emergency trailer. And then 5%, or $10,000, is for the sheriff's office for a new motorcycle. As far as checks, last week we wrote 268 checks for $2.5 million. 30% of that amount, or $788,000, is for health insurance. 27%, or $690,000, is for the West 12th Street project. And then a couple at 8%, or $200,000. One was for the jail for showers and gate replacement, and mental health counseling, the Ditio Group contract, culinary services, and building maintenance. And then the other one is the monthly contribution for paramedic. For this week, we issued 162 checks for $845,000. A quarter of that amount, or $193,000, is our monthly contribution to the Weber Human Services organization. 19%, or $159,000, went to archery, the construction of the archery building. And then 13%, or $111,000, was for the Ogden Valley branch construction, as well as some books and materials and programming materials. And that's all. Thanks.
There was a motion on the table by Commissioner Jenkins to approve those consent items, and I will second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Jenkins. We have a second by Commissioner Harvey. I'm going to place the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move now to the action items, and this would be request for approval of a grant modification allowing the Indigent Defense Commission to hire an administrative assistant. I'm showing that Brian Barron will be presenting this. Brian, are you there?
Yes, I'm here and ready to present. Just by way of background, commissioners, this started back in September, October of last year when the county submitted a grant request to the IDC.
Go ahead. You're up.
And that was for assistance to fund a criminal case that we had that was supposed to start the end of April and go through June. We requested $270,000 to help finance the defense of that case. Our attorneys came on board, they started working on the case, and were able to actually settle it with the prosecutors in February. And so we won't need all of that money. So what we did is we submitted a modification to the IDC asking to allow us to use some of that money to hire an administrative assistant who would assist us with gathering the data that they require us to report. Also, we asked them to give us $10,500 for investigative resources, and they approved both of those requests. So that's all this is doing. We're taking the money that they already awarded to us, and we're just repurposing it since we're not going to use it for attorneys.
So, Brian, when you say they approved it, who are they?
The Indigent Defense Commission. It's a commission that was set up by the state legislature to help oversee indigent defense in the state and provide grant money to help counties and cities provide defense services.
Sure. I'm very familiar with them. That's good.
Any questions?
Brian has chatted with me about
Great.
this very thing, and I think it's a good move, especially in light of the changes that were made before this all happened. So my recommendation would be to approve this contract that Brian has set forth.
Okay. Brian has
I will second that, Gage.
chatted with me about
We have a motion and a second. I'm going to call place for the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go now to request for approval of a contract by between Weber County and Deborah Davis for consulting and expert witness services. Brian, you're back on.
Okay, commissioners, this contract also involves indigent defense. The Indigent Defense Act formerly required defense attorneys, when they wanted to hire an expert, to file a motion with the court and get a court order that ordered the county to pay for their expert witness. The Indigent Defense Act was modified last year, and it no longer requires a motion and order. Now, we could continue to require a motion and order in our contracts with our defense attorneys. However, I thought that a better option would be to enter into contracts directly with their requested experts. The reason for that is when we get a court order for an expert, all it says is this is the expert appointed to the case, this is how much they charge per hour, and they are now the expert on the case, and the county has to pay the bill. When we enter into a contract with the expert, it provides us with a lot of additional protections, such as we can put a cap on the contract. We can specify what travel expenses they'll be reimbursed for and at what rate. We have a termination provision. We have a provision in there that requires them to meet with prosecutors if the prosecutors so wish, different things like that. So I'm going to start doing these contracts more and more, but this particular expert was requested by one of our defense attorneys to act as a false confession expert. And so that's what this specific contract is for.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners?
I have none, Mr. Chair, and with that, I would make a motion that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and Deborah Davis for a consultative and expert witness service.
Thank
And
you.
I
We
will
have
second that.
a motion by Commissioner Harvey, a second by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move now to item 3 under action items. Request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Bonneville Collections for bad debt and bad check recovery services. And that would go to Jennifer.
Thank you,
With
Commissioner. This is
Hold
okay. This is we went out to bid for this just a little bit earlier so that we could get collection services in a contract and work on our rate just a little bit. And this is the result of that. We've brought the collection fee down to 18%. And likewise, we're going to be turning that fee over to the clients in the future so that they pay for the recovery.
Got it. Questions, commissioners?
Jennifer, the question I have is what kind of checks are you getting that are bouncing, that you're going after collections?
It's not so much checks anymore sometimes because our check, they're just very minimal. But we do, once in a while, we have events that do not fulfill their payment requirements. And so it doesn't happen often, but I actually have two that I need to send. One was at the conference center, and then one actually had to do with the fair. So I'll be sending those for collection.
Good. And then you'll make sure that you don't allow them in this year, you right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They've already, Commissioner, if I might jump in, they've already had those conversations with those folks now. And that's just, if they make a contract to do business with us, they also make a contract to pay us. That's how it is. And if they don't pay us, then it's not good business for us. And so it's just that simple.
I agree. So Jennifer, I have a question. You said that you brought the fee down to 18%. What was it prior to this?
30.
30. Well, that's a pretty good decrease.
Yeah.
So, and you've worked with Virgil, I take it up to at Bonneville?
Scott Fletcher.
Okay, Scott. Good. Okay. Good. Well, unfortunately, we have to deal with this. I know that the Bonneville's done some work for the state and debt collection. They've done an excellent job. So I have no issues with the company, and that's great. We got it down to 18%. That seems like on collections, that seems like a fairly very good rate. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Additional questions or comments, commissioners?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
Okay, I'd make a motion. We approve the contract, Bonneville Collections.
Thank you. We got a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move now to request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Hunden Strategic Partners, HSP, to determine market, financial feasibility, and economic impact of a possible expansion of the Ogden Eccles Conference Center. Marty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As talks resumed last year concerning the need for more parking downtown and a possible expansion of the conference center, Cassie Bybee and I attended a conference called the Convention Sports and Entertainment Facility Conference to sort of familiarize ourselves with consultants in this arena and take some classes and workshops on what it really means to do a remodel and expansion of this size. We came back and wrote a request for proposal for consulting firms to not only do feasibility, but also walk us through the next phases if the decision is made to possibly move further. We got 4 respondents to that request. And that was at the end of last year. So after about 3 months of vetting, comparing the scopes of work that were proposed, working with Matt Clements and Jason Horn in purchasing and Brian Barron in the attorney's office, several phone calls to the proposers and comparisons, we found a clear winner, which is Hunden Strategic Partners. Just looking for approval of this contract for phase 1 and phase 2 of a project of feasibility and consulting.
Great. Okay. Questions, commissioners?
Marty, I personally thank you, Chair Farrar. I want to tell you, Marty, how grateful I am for you and that selection team. You went through, those proposals were very, very detailed. Each one took a lot of time to go through. And I just publicly want to thank you and the team for the extra work that you've done on these. You've done a great job. We know that there was a lot of different criteria to choose from. I think you've made a good choice based on the criterias that I've seen and your selection process. And again, just wanted to thank you for the thoroughness and how you've gone about this process.
Thank you. It was actually Brian Barron and Jason and Matt that got us to the finish line in the end with this choice. But I would like to add one other additional comment. Usually these firms come to town to do kickoff meetings and initial, sort of research. But with the current state, we amended the contract slightly, which you probably saw in there, that we're going to do the first kickoff meetings stuff virtually and by phone until they can get to town. And then they're committed to get to town to talk to the key stakeholders and such as part of the study. So that's the only real thing that has complicated this slightly in the initial phase. It's about a 13-week phase one and another out to 25 weeks for phase two.
Mr. Chair, another question?
Go ahead. Please do.
Marty, with everyone being staying at home and staying safe, when do you think they would start the process? Have they given you any indication because of what's been happening in the United States right now?
Yeah, they're going to start now. We actually had an initial phone call. They're just kind of waiting on this contract, of course, before they can do too much. But they're sending us a list of things that we can start working on, which is basically historical research on our customers, lost business, the state of the market here in Ogden, some of our key stakeholders. We're going to give them a list of those so that they can start the project. So really, we're starting now.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
With that, I'll make a motion that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and Hunden for process of this feasibility study.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that motion, but I also want to make a comment here, Gage.
Go ahead.
And that is this feasibility study. So this will tell us what's feasible or not. That doesn't commit us to long-term projects yet, but we're heading that direction. We all need to understand that.
Absolutely.
Yes, and if I could just comment to that, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, go ahead.
Not only just feasibility, this study won't just, but if it does tell us that, in fact, we do need some sort of expansion, it will tell us the kind. So they're really going to dig in, because just because we're going to expand something doesn't mean we just build a big space and hope people come.
Right.
They will tell us really what we should do when the kind of space we should have. So good comment there, Commissioner.
Okay, any additional questions, comments? So Marty, you brought up that they're going to talk about or look into our parking situation. As you well know, that's one of the issues we have ongoing with Ogden City in terms of the about 1.1 million that's now held by them. We now have an agreement, but contingent upon what the future outcome of that parking terrace may be. Are they going to look at that in detail, or what's their mode of analysis with the parking terrace? Because that becomes pretty critical to the county and relationships with Ogden City.
Well, I haven't had too specific details just about parking with them, but at the very least, I think we would expect that we do need parking and approximately how many stalls we would need, because they're going to also dig into hotel analysis and trends and the market there as far as if there's a need for more inventory in the hotel market and just a downtown overall inventory of needs. So, but I can definitely make that clear that we need as much parking information as possible in this study.
Well, I would say this: if they're going to look at the expansion or whatever the recommendation in their parking needs to become a very integral part of that. To add space without parking that we don't have right now just makes little or no sense. So to me, that's a critical. And then the last question: are they going to be working with or talking to some of our existing businesses so that they get a feel for what our environment here in Weber County is?
Yeah.
To make sure that we have a good feel for what's actually taking place on the ground, rather than have them say, okay, this is what worked in Denver, so it should work for you. That is a little concern I have with some of these consultants that we hire.
There's about 13 phases to this, or 13 steps and tasks to this first phase. It includes all the key stakeholders. It'll be us, the city, Visit Ogden, the economic impact that this will have in the downtown, any key stakeholders that we feel necessary for them to talk to and research.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, no additional questions, comments? All those in favor, we have a motion and a second. Please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thanks, Marty. Commissioner comments? Don't all speak at once.
You know, these are trying times, Gage and Commissioner Harvey, that we're working under. And I know we're doing the best we can. I hate to see us go too far overboard here. You know, we've yet to have community spread in the county, and we've done a really good job of that. And we just got to keep it up.
I'm right
Good,
there.
thank you.
I'm right there with you, Commissioner Jenkins, and I would just compliment the two of you as I've watched your work ethic throughout this. I know especially that you guys are spending just countless hours on the phones, calling different businesses, giving them resources, meeting with our still remotely, figuring out how to meet with our department heads and division directors and other elected officials. And we're doing all we can to keep our employees safe while still keeping the public safe while we operate essential services. And so I appreciate your two leadership and your example there, and everybody else who's working for the county. They're doing a wonderful job. I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing, especially in this time that none of us have ever experienced before. It's a privilege to work with you.
Thank you very much. And let me just say that the feeling is mutual. You know, we've had a number of meetings, countless hours over the last 2 weeks. This is new territory for all of us. It's something that is really expected or forecast as we look at the social impact that we have with the health situation, overlay that with the economic impact of our small businesses. It's critical that we make sure that we keep in touch with our small businesses so that when we come out of this, and we just don't know exactly when, that we'll come out with a resource that we can learn from. I think that we can learn some lessons from this endeavor, both from a business standpoint and also a government standpoint. Let me just say I appreciate everybody in the county's efforts, both on the health side and the economic side. Really, those are two issues that are at conflict right now, and we need to keep the pressure on both. Again, I appreciate everybody that's involved with the county, making sure that we get through this in as good a shape as possible. When we get to the end, then we can look back and say, okay, this is what we did entirely wrong, or this where we can make some changes for the future. But I think it will be a good lesson for us as we get through this. So thank you very much. With that, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
Well, Gage, I've got one more thing to bring up. I've skipped over. I apologize.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We were notified a couple of days ago by Brad Blanche that he's aware of the decisions that we've made recently on 3600 West. And he's pushing for us to include in our meeting here today that we're ready to go forward on foreclosure of that property out there on 3600 West to make that a proper street. Now, I don't know if we necessarily need an action today, but I do think it's important that we talk about it and that we're ready to consider it.
Okay. Well, we don't have it agended up, so we can't.
Yeah, so we can't vote on it.
We can't vote on it, but I think it's fairly clear. And Commissioner Harvey, correct me if I misstate this, but based upon our last analysis and meeting with the surveyor and our other department heads, we felt fairly secure in going ahead with the, and I don't have the map in front of me, but I think we all know which piece we're talking about on the 3600 West piece. If that's not, is that correct, Commissioner Jenkins?
Yeah, that's correct. That's the piece we're talking about. The point is, I would like to give our attorneys the okay to start that process. And if you remember, Mr. Hipwell, we actually informed him at that meeting that he was putting us in a position where he forced us to do this. And he said he knew that we'd have to come after him on this. And so it's pretty much expected by him. There's nothing that's going to happen here that he doesn't anticipate.
That's my understanding as well. So, yeah, so my opinion, whatever we need to do, whatever action, if we need to put this on the agenda item, let's go ahead and get it agended up for whatever needs to take place to get this to our legal folks so they can start that process.
Commissioners, my understanding, a recollection, as you brought up, Commissioner Frohr, was that this was going to, we were going to have this process reviewed by Mr. Erickson. I think that was the case from our legal department, and then take the action, Commissioner Jenkins, that you've mentioned here. I know they've met with several of the people there, but I believe, just in full transparency, it's that spot along the west side of that road, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
That's correct. Yeah. Well, Scott, whatever you think we need to do, let's talk to the attorneys tomorrow morning or get this process underway.
That's what I wanted. I'll start the process and we'll get back to you.
Good. Let me know.
Good.
Okay.
Motion
Anything
to
else?
adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We got a motion. Second by Commissioner Harvey. All in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody's attendance. And some of us are a little bit electronic media deprived, but we finally made it through it. So, and it wasn't necessarily that we couldn't, we had issues. I had issues with the Wi-Fi, but looked like it turned out. So appreciate everybody's attendance.